When people do those types of searches, chiropractor near me, chiropractor city, state, number one, that's the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to digital marketing. They're the closest to like making an appointment, and they usually don't really have an opinion on who they're going to choose. So if you can if you can take up the most space on those search engine result pages, you're going to have the most success.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
At Genesis, we help successful chiropractors implement spinal decompression with a fully turnkey system that handles everything from marketing and new patient generation to systems, protocols, and ongoing support. The result? Massive value for your practice and life-changing outcomes for your patients, all without drugs or surgery. This is the next evolution in chiropractic care. Welcome to Genesis. All right, Remarkable CEOs, Dr. Pete here in the studio with my good friend, Dr. Nick Silveri. Dr. Nick, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Pete.
So these interviews that we like to do, Dr. Nick, really were inspired in many ways by you, because I remember when you started your podcast and you were interviewing us, and we thought, man, it'd be awesome to get some more of our amazing success partners to join us on our podcast. It's one of our favorite ways that we like to communicate with the docs who we serve and our community of chiropractic. So thanks for joining me here today, and we're gonna have a marketing conversation. It was interesting because before we went live, you said to me, "Hey, I've been on your show a few times before. I've done a bunch of interviews," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I haven't really told people exactly what we do." So you've talked a lot about marketing. You've given tons of gold. People probably take notes every time you speak and walk away with a plan. So, which is amazing because that's really your heart. I know that's who you are. You're just here to help. You want to serve. You want to help as many people and chiropractors be successful as possible. You do such a good job of that. But today, let's talk a little bit more about specifically your agency and what you guys do that's unique, right? We talk about USP. What is that for you? So why don't you tell our audience today?
Well, I appreciate it, Pete. I feel like we get into it like so deep sometimes. We're having such a good conversation. I like, at least for me, I forget that I'm like promoting the business, and like half the time I don't even like mention the URL to go to at the end. So that's always a testament to the conversations that we get to have, I think.
Yeah.
So Leverage Media, we started it in 2017. So we've been doing this for 8 years now. And before that, I was doing it for probably 5+ years, which was adding value to our community, creating content, written in video, and trying to spread our version of chiropractic out into the people that we serve. And, like at the time, I felt like a lot of what was out there was either like coaching you on how to do it or like courses that you could take, but there wasn't really a lot of like done with you type agencies. And so we decided that, Gary Vee has been a big influence on my life. And so I thought that, and that's where I started with content marketing. And so I thought that's what chiropractors really needed. They needed somebody like me who was a chiropractor, who was in the trenches, who could like give them the strategy of how to do content marketing the right way, and then build a team that could do all the technical side of things. Because I find that when I talk to chiropractors, the thing that keeps them from creating consistent content is A, they don't really have a strategy or know what they should be doing. And then B, they don't technically know what to do with it once they actually like shoot the video or write the words. So we started a content marketing agency. It just happened to launch at the same time as like all of these Facebook ad agencies, where like some kid took a course and all of a sudden he was an expert on chiropractic marketing. And so we've just kind of, like you and I have known each other for almost a decade now. And from our first conversation, I've been talking about content marketing and how that helps create more quality lead generation. So we have evolved over the years as digital marketing has evolved over the years. I still run my practice. My practice is now kind of pushing 1.5 million. When I was seeing patients, we weren't even sniffing 500,000. So to be able to probably quadruple the practice since I stopped seeing patients over a decade ago. And every time I back away from the practice in terms of servicing patients, it just grows. And the way that we are able to do that is through, a great team, great systems, but also great marketing that pushes qualified new patients through the door. And a lot of our clients are at that level or beyond as well. So we're really built to help people scale, help people that want to have more influence, and also just like are looking for a comprehensive approach. Like so many of the agencies that are out there are one trick ponies. Like they find something that works well and then they just sell it into the ground until it doesn't work anymore, and then they like shift and like do something else. But we're over here doing a comprehensive approach, which for us really focuses around 5 pillars plus the website. So our websites are custom story branded websites, which we've talked a lot about StoryBrand on this podcast. But I'm the only chiropractor in the world that's a certified StoryBrand guide. So I take people through that process, help them tell the story of their practice, and really like resonate with the people that they're trying to resonate with. Because a pediatric practice is different than a sports injury practice. So you've got to like make sure that you're speaking to the people that you're trying to attract. And then on the leverage media side, in terms of like the ongoing process, we cover 5 things. We do the hunting and the farming, we do Google ads, meta ads, which is Facebook and Instagram, content marketing, which is really the tent pole of what we do. So we help you create video content and written content in your words around the topics that you want to focus on. I coach one-on-one with every client, and our team customizes all of that for your practice. And we do all the video editing, the copywriting, the boosting, the posting, the retargeting, the optimization. The only part that we ask from the clients is hit record, type the words. We give you lots of resources to make that easy, but it's still your brand that we're trying to build in your community, and it needs to be in your voice and the way that you explain things. Then our 4th pillar is our advanced SEO. We want that website to be a living, breathing document. This is a done with you process. It's not one of these websites that you're going to forget about and not look at for 3 years. We are going to be working on this together to help you be like the dominant player in your space. And then the Google business profile optimization. So we want to make sure that you're showing up in the top 3 of that map pack, because when somebody's looking for a chiropractor in your town, 60% of the clicks are happening in that map. So we want to show up in the paid spots. We want to show up in the organic spots. And we really just want to like be seen as the big dog in town, because when people do those types of searches, chiropractor near me, chiropractor city, state, number one, that's the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to digital marketing. They're the closest to like making an appointment, and they usually don't really have an opinion on who they're going to choose. So if you can if you can take up the most space on those search engine result pages, you're going to have the most success. So everything has its own different strategy, whether it's social media, SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, all those things have their own unique things that make them effective. And so we have people that are experts in each one of those areas, so that you've got a team of people. I talk to my team about our agency fee is a lot of times one of the biggest line items on somebody's P&L. And so we're almost we're basically the cost of a full-time $15 an hour employee. We're the most effective $15 employee that you're going to have. But we've got to make sure that we are acting as if we are part of this practice, like we are an employee on this team. And so we take that seriously. And we're a boutique agency, and we're really built for those practices, again, that have like cycled through the 5 agencies because they're looking for something more. They're looking to have more of an impact. They're looking to build a brand. And it's great to be able to like customize our approach to those types of practices. So that's really like, I think, A, what we do, and B, how we, stand out from those other agencies.
So I'm remembering when we first met, at least my first recollection was in 2017 when we met, and we actually were in the same room together and we talked.
Mhm.
And I remember you speaking about this and so here we are almost 9 years late, calendar years later, and it's the same song you've been singing. And
Yeah.
so I just want to point out to the audience, anybody who's listening, who maybe does or doesn't know you, but you've been literally beating this drum since then. And, now obviously, let's just say people are more aware of this to be the case. Like you have to have compelling content, but you've been continually teaching this from day one, from the very beginning. And I want to just thank you for that, for staying, number one, being, a pioneer, going out ahead, seeing that, and then bringing it into our space and not just trying to go low, but go high, which is go comprehensive, do it the right way, play long game.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what we have to look at. I think about digital marketing, like back in the day, because we both knew what it was like to practice without Facebook and Instagram and all the things.
Yeah.
Right now, having a website like the one you described that's continually being, just tweaked with making sure it's optimized, it's functioning optimally, and all these other five pillars that you have. It's like if
And,
you had,
and real quick, Pete, and add in content
yeah,
every month, like making sure that you keep that thing growing because Google wants that. They want somebody who's like putting some effort, not just like we threw up 100 pages in 2020 and we haven't looked at it since and nothing's been updated
I,
since then.
I want our audience to think about something you just said, which is unless you've had this shift mentally, think about if every night you went on to the news and it was the same news that was like yesterday's news and the day before's news, like every day. Even though sometimes like the news feels like it's repeated, it's another fire, it's another homicide or whatever, right? Sometimes the news tends to repeat itself. But what engages people is like, give me something fresh, give me something. We might be saying, hey, you have this condition or that condition, but you're going to be telling it in a way, the story, right, Doc? In a way that engages with your audience. They tune in. I remember my grandma, when she lived with us, every night she would watch Jeopardy. She would watch the news. She had her like rhythm. It was her routine and just locked in. She was locked in. And I just think about people are still like that. I see them. They walk around on their phone. They're locked into their show, to their thing, who they're following. And this idea that you can be that person that's regularly putting it out. You have to think about yourself as you are your own news station. You are
Right.
your own producer of content. And if you're not regularly producing it, people are going to stop tuning into your show. They're going to go listen to somebody else. They're going to go into somebody else's show, which is
Right.
fine because that person's putting out better, newer, more updated, more relevant, more compelling content. And that's what you teach. Do you want to unpack that just a little bit more? Just that mindset that we need to have. And you're not saying Pete Camiolo has to do it or Nick Silveri has to do it necessarily either,
Mhm.
but you're saying your brand has to do that. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have the nice part about being a local business is you're competing against other local companies, which are usually like not the savviest marketers in the world. And local chiropractors are busy and they also are not that savvy at marketing. So it doesn't take that much to stay top of mind with your local market. So just like Franson always says, consistency is the new intensity. And that's the approach that we really take. Like our strategy and our structure is built for not the Pete Camiolos and Stephen Fransons and Nick Silveris of the world, but like the less charismatic amongst us, because it's got to work for anybody that we bring on. And I can't go looking for the 1% of the 1% who are going to be such like savvy content producers. But that isn't even really, I mean, sure, like the better the content, the more interaction you're going to have and the more you're going to convince people. But the strategy works even for the less charismatic people because it's consistency. It's showing up the right way. And everybody's so worried about what's going to happen with AI in terms of like how you're going to be found in search. Guess what AI is looking for? Expertise, brand. They want to see you everywhere. It's not going to be as simple as like old school SEO was, where it's like you just do these like little hacks and it works forever. These LLMs are really looking for brands and they're looking for expertise. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is through content. There is no ChatGPT written pages on your website or coupons on Facebook that are going to do that for you. It's like you've got to share the things that are in your mind that you're talking about in the four walls of your practice, but you've got to do it digitally in the places where they're spending their time and the places where they are looking for solutions. Right now, that's social media, Google and YouTube. But 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm still going to be saying the same thing. The service will probably be different, though, in how we accomplish that. I was saying the same thing in 2017. Like we're kind of at the tail end of the things that really worked then, still working now. And there's just going to be a shift, but there will always be places that people are going to look for answers and places that people are going to spend their time. And it's your responsibility to show up in front of those people in your local market with content that that you think is going to be valuable to the people that you serve. So we help with that. It's the strategy that I use in my own practice. So like I'm selfish, like I want all the new patients in my town. So all of that energy that I think of to like keep growing my practice, all of our clients get the benefit of that. So like I'm in the test kitchen, I spend way more money than I probably would on a local chiropractic practice just because we're always testing things, we're always trying out new things, so that if we find a home run or even a double that works, we're gonna probably roll that out to all the clients. And that's another, just as I'm saying this out loud, it's another difference between us and a lot of the agencies. First of all, 98% of the agencies that are out there, the person is not a chiropractor. They've never run a chiropractic office. They just thought that chiropractors would be easy to target as clients. And for those that are that do have chiropractors attached, a lot of them either never practiced or they sold their practice to run an agency. If this agency was such a cash machine for you, why aren't you doing it for yourself? So I feel like the proof is in the pudding that I would never sell my practice because it gives me that edge that only comes from doing it yourself and like having payrolls on the line, and you've got to be ROI positive, and this stuff has to work. Especially for me, I live 4 hours away and I'm in my practice one day a month. So it's like, this has to work. So it's like, it would really work if I was the one seeing the patients and in the office every single day. So I think that's a big difference in, like obviously our approach is different. We are not just a Facebook ad agency. We try to do all these things, but it's also like you're getting a chiropractor who's been running this practice for 20 years and who keeps trying to like push and grow and make it bigger.
Great. And congrats on the great growth you've had, which has been awesome to see from what I've witnessed just over the years, incremental growth, that consistency word again. Last thing I want you to just chime in on, because I know the value that you provide on that initial call, like
Yeah.
that discovery call that you do is just, it's worth the price of admission, right? Like they say. I mean, that call that you do, can you just talk just briefly about that? And then what's the next, how do people take a next step? Like what's the next step for anybody who's listening here? Yeah.
Yeah. So the strategy session is truly that. It like really is 50 minutes of strategy. And like before the call, I go on your online presence. So your website, your social media, your Google presence. I look at your competitors. I look at what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, opportunities you might be missing out on. And when we get on that call, like 50 minutes of it is me like saying like, what are you trying to accomplish? Here's what I'm finding. Here's where the gaps are. Here's where the opportunities are. Here's like my thought process on if it were my practice, like if we were partners, and this is what I would do first, second, third, and fourth. And the last 10 minutes of it is basically what I laid out here, which is just like, here are the services that we provide and the pricing. And if it's a good fit, great. And if it isn't, you get, like I'm giving you basically the roadmap. You can go do it yourself or have somebody else do it. It's just easier if we do it for you. And I think more effective if we do it for you. But that's what it is. It's like really meant to add real value to people when they get on the call. And so I just did Alex Hormozy's book launch. And he just set a Guinness Book of World Records with like, I don't know, 3 million books that he sold in 24 hours with the $100 million money models. And my wife would be proud of me that I did not buy the 800 book package. She's a little bit disappointed in me that I bought the 200 book package. But what that means is that I've got 200 of these books that I want to get in the hands of chiropractic entrepreneurs. So anybody that schedules a call and says they heard me on the TRP podcast, I'm going to ship you out one of these books because I just think, and I think the other two books in the $100 million series are absolute gold, and it fits exactly with what I'm talking about with add value, then ask for the sale. So if you go to contentintoPatients.com, that's contentintoPatients.com. You could fill out the form, just put in that you saw me on the TRP podcast, and I'll ship you out one of these books. Not, like an audible or PDF, but like you can hold it in your hands. I know, like, if I actually have it in my hands, there's a chance that I'll read it. Whereas if you send it to me in a PDF form, there's a 0% chance.
Wow, I love that. Well, get your book, and get your 50 minutes of strategy from Dr. Silveri, guys. Seriously, as one of our success partners, a longtime partner and friend, great colleague, this guy, Dr. Nick Silveri and Leverage Media, are doing great things for our profession. They can do great things for you. So, Doc, thanks for taking your time to meet with me here today. Thanks for being part of the podcast. And as always, I look forward to when we meet again on this platform, because you are a regular. You are currently number one in terms of appearances. So I expect you'll keep your position steady. So until we reconnect again here, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Pete.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, this is Coach Day with the Remarkable Practice, and I have with me today Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons. It is quite an honor to be able to interview him over the next few minutes. He has a fantastic service that I am a direct recipient of, and I'm sure that you would, much rather hear it from him as far as the benefits of it rather than, me sitting here raving about it. So I want to go ahead and introduce Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons, fantastic chiropractor, fantastic person and business person, and give him an opportunity to speak about Lucro and what kind of services he provides. So Dr. Josiah, tell us just a few moments about yourself, as well as what problem does Lucro really stand to solve for the busy chiropractor?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dr. Kevin. Lucro provides bookkeeping services for the chiropractic profession to help chiropractors scale their clinics and be more profitable. That's literally what Lucro stands for in Italian, is profit. And it was born out of my own clinic. I grew my own clinic very quickly right out of school, over $1 million my first year in practice, $2 million my second year. By my fourth year, I was at $5.5 million in 1,800 square feet. And so doctors started asking, what are you doing? Can you help me? Can you be my coach? Can you do all these different things? And they're like, what is really separating you? What are you doing differently than most other offices to grow and scale at such a fast pace? And really what I realized is I had borrowed from other professions outside of chiropractic, most for myself, my first couple of years. And most chiropractors really only utilize bookkeeping for 1 day a year to file taxes. But during COVID, I started studying these other businesses. What are they doing to grow and scale? And especially these tech businesses that they seemingly can just burst through glass ceilings and never hit plateaus or bottlenecks. And one of the most fundamental things that I understood about these businesses was they were constantly evaluating their financial data to make strategic key business decisions. And, my bookkeeping was typically months behind. Even if I got it on time, I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what the right margins were, what the right percentages were, what I actually should do with the data. And so that's when I started transitioning and trying to figure it out for my own clinic. And so now that's what we do for doctors, is you have a dedicated team member that does your books every single week. And then we give you a report by the 10th of every month that gives you insights into all your numbers, as well as recommended action steps of how to grow, how to scale, get to the next level. And I lead twice a month group calls where you can ask unlimited questions as well.
And I think that's fantastic. I was literally just looking at my dashboard right before we hopped on this call, and it was like, hey, it's in the green, it's profitable. That's fantastic. And so some of the ways that I use it, and, I was trying to think of, this podcast reaches everyone from those that are just about to get started in their practice, to those that are building their practice, to those that are leveraging, their team and other associate chiropractors to scale their practice. And, I look at Lucro as a way to provide a product and a benefit to everyone across the board. For those that may not have great fluency with their funds, that advice and those tips and those strategies on where to spend and what not to spend, that's fantastic. And for, the busy chiropractor, the busy CEO that just wants to pop in and say like, okay, are we above? Are we below? Are we right on track with where we need to be? And I think that's a really important thing when we talk about our finances as well. When we talk about marketing budget, we should be remarkable standards right around that 10%. And if you're above that, you need to know that, but also you need to know if you're below that. And it's not necessarily a good thing when you're beneath that. It just means you need to increase your spending to add more value to your business. So that quick visibility, just pop in and it's like, okay, yeah, I can actually increase my spending within marketing to get right back on budget. That's huge value. So that's terrific. And, as you had mentioned, you continue to grow through COVID, and, having your numbers like that is a really important thing. So
You hit the nail on the head. Is you might be doing good in these areas. A lot of people focus on maybe what they're not doing good at and they want to improve. But what I found and what we've really found with Lucro is most of our clients need to focus more on the opportunities that they have to grow. And instead of focusing, on shaving a few here or doing a few things, stop doing a few things. There's a lot of things that you're probably really doing a great job at. They just need to do more of, and uncovering those opportunities and pouring more gas on those fires is really what we found for most clinics to really scale their clinics at a much faster pace.
give us an example of what those master classes that you talk about would be covering for those people that are listening that have no idea what you're talking about when you say a master class. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. We cover really everything, in my own clinic, how I grew my clinic to now just under $7 million in last year. We cover all different things. We have guests on, such as Dr. Franson and Dr. Pete from the Remarkable Practice. We have guests from other marketing companies, Alan Miner from Chiro Matchmakers. We have guests from all different people across the entire profession. We have also diving in. My partner was a CFO for Jasper AI, which is now $1 billion company. We break down marketing, we break down operations, we break down financial decisions, we break down how to eliminate your tax bill, we break down profitability, social media strategies, all different areas that all flow back into how to have a successful practice. And so all those different things show up on your P&L in different ways. And so how do you understand the data that your P&L is giving you, then to look deeper into improving your team or improving your retention or improving your conversion, or depending on what phase you're in, like you said, whether you're just right out of school launching, this is hugely important for you to know exactly how to make the best decision. The biggest thing I talk about people right out of school or early in practice is opportunity costs. You might focus on what you think is the most important topic, but there could be something that could be 10 times more valuable that you didn't even know you should focus on. When you're into build and scale mode, then it's very, very important for you to be able to focus on, the key aspect that's going to have the number one driver on scaling your clinic and utilizing data to help you understand what that decision is. And so, yeah, in the master classes, we dive into all those different topics, on a more detailed basis. And it's a great collaboration with all of our members, going into Q&A, and we have lots of great questions, that people bring up, that they're struggling with or they're pushing through and trying to break through those plateaus or bottlenecks.
That's fantastic. And that is at no additional charge. Is that correct with the master
Correct.
plan?
Yeah.
That's included. So, that just shows where Dr. Josiah's intentions are and his heart is to help serve the profession. And that's true. And, our metrics are so vital when we're a CEO. I'll openly admit when I first started in practice, I was a head down, bum up guy. And it's like, I don't need my numbers. I'm going to show up and adjust. That's what I'm here to do. But I tell you what, if you truly want to have a better grasp on your practice, on your business, and if you truly want to be able to scale your practice, you have to be able to understand and comprehend your numbers. So with that being stated, let's get real on this. Like, what is a good return on investment that CEOs can expect when they use Lucro?
Yeah, absolutely. When you put your money in the stock market, you set it, forget about it. You're usually happy with 10%, return. You put $1,000 in, it turns into, $1,100 at the end of a year. You're pretty happy. And so one of the biggest things I talk with doctors about all the time is that if you put $1,000 into marketing and you only made $1,100, you wouldn't be happy at all. And that's because your business has much greater opportunity to get way higher ROI on investing back into your business. And so whether it be hiring a team member, hiring their remarkable practice, hiring a Lucro, you're going to want much, much higher ROI for your investment than just putting in the stock market and forgetting about it. I would say the absolute worst case scenario of investing your money into Lucro is a 10x return. 10 times the amount would be the worst case scenario. Most of our doctors are getting 20, 30, 40, some of them 100x ROI in investing in Lucro. We're only $450 a month. We do your bookkeeping every single week. We give you a report by the 10th of every month. We have twice a month master classes and group calls, asking them many questions. We tee everything up for your CPA to file your taxes. And so we're typically around the same cost people are already paying, to get value once a year. Maybe their book's updated every few months, but no tangible insights to actually grow their practice, just bean counting, as I like to call it. And so we actually give you insights, to grow, to scale, to get to the next level. And that's where the real value is, to have somebody on your team that's obviously built a clinic to a high level, as well as a CFO like Adam, who's helped consulted from, major organizations, and to have both of us, on your team to help you grow and scale to the next level. We've never had a single client that has said they haven't made, way, way more than we cost. And that's how we tried to price it, as a no-brainer, for the chiropractic profession.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And that was one of the greatest things that attracted me to you guys as well, is the difference between my original bookkeeper and Lucro. Is my bookkeeper, that's all they do, right? That's their background, is business and accounting, whereas your background is the profession that I'm in. And that is a huge, huge asset for especially someone just starting off in practice. What I think about is, like, okay, your dollars matter now more than ever in your practice, because you have to make it, right? So why not invest in someone who knows where you're headed, who knows what's around that corner, and can help you avoid a lot of those pitfalls and maximize every dollar that you have. So, I think that's one of the greatest assets that you have with Lucro across the board for, again, those folks that are just coming out of school and wanting to get it optimized. Because at the end of the day, you're going to pay a bookkeeper one way or the other. You might as well leverage someone who knows our business frontwards and backwards and has had great success with it. So for me personally, it was a no-brainer. And I hope everyone listening can kind of see the value like that as well.
And I would even say, Dr. Kevin, if you're not paying a bookkeeper, that means you're doing it yourself. And that's even worse. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're a doctor, you're not an accountant, and neither is your spouse or your daughter or your niece, most likely that's doing your book. So that's a big thing that we talk about on a regular basis, is having the right people on your team. To me, that's the biggest bottleneck in our profession, is having the right people in your organization to help you grow and scale and get to the next level. And so, yeah, definitely, if that's you and you're like, well, I'm doing it myself, I don't pay anything. Well, you're paying way, way more with your own time, and the value that
Right.
you're missing out on of how much more successful you could be by the numbers and data and insights you don't know.
That's right. And I'm sure if we had more time, you could tell us some pretty amazing stories about those that were doing their bookkeeping by themselves, and probably how you save them not only time but also a lot of money and potentially some other greater issues. All right, so here's another question for you, and I think this is a big one. The healthcare is ever changing, and considering what's important next, like as you start to look ahead and assess the needs for our profession in the years ahead, how are you going to be able to help doctors be prepared to have the same success in the future as it continues to evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because it's so paramount. What worked in the past, what's worked currently may not work in 2 years and 3 years and in 5 years. And so really understanding, as we grow as a profession, that's one of our key parts of our entire program that we're developing, is what we're going to call the chiropractic industry insights. And so the more clinics that we have, the more and more data that we're going to have of what's working in the profession. Who are the top vendors to use? What is the top programs to use? Top EHRs, the top marketing companies, all the top organizations in the profession. We're going to have the data of the entire profession, because we know the expenses of every single clinic that we work with. And so we got to know, people that utilize this company make 17% more profit. People that utilize this company, don't do as well. People that once they start utilizing this organization, their, clinic takes off. And so we're going to know overall, and that's something that we want to start delivering for the profession, is what we call like a white paper report. What's working, what's not working, how do you run the most successful chiropractic business possible? And we can even tag those down based on style of practice or location of practice. Are you more pediatrics focused or family focused or personal injury? Are you in the Midwest, or are you in a big city or a small town? And so we're going to be able to have all that data of how the best practices are being ran. What we call it in Lucro is the perfect P&L. What does the perfect P&L look like for every different size and style of practice? How do you optimize for total profitability of a clinic? Because at the end of the day, you'd much rather have 20% of a watermelon than 50% of a grape. A lot of clinics focus too much on profit margin when the goal of a clinic is total profitability. That's what a business is created to do, is to create enterprise value and total profitability. And so that's our entire goal, is to help provide those insights, not only for every individual client, but also for the profession as well. Because I always joke with people, it's Jesus and chiropractors. We're the top people that are called miracle workers in the history of the world, I truly believe. And why don't we have a bigger impact on the world? We know we have the greatest healthcare product in the world. Why are we reaching a greater percentage and having a bigger impact on the population? Fundamentally, we went to school to become doctors, not to become entrepreneurs and get our MBAs. And so how, as Lucro with the Remarkable Practice and other organizations in the profession, help uplift, the awareness of how to run a more successful business.
That is so true, and well said on that, truthfully. I think, again, going back to the reality that, as we navigate the waters ahead, like, who better to help you with your finances than a chiropractor, understanding and comprehending our profession. So fantastic. I really enjoyed that. And I know I've been a customer or client of your guys's now for, probably 8 months, and I learned something today. So thank you for that. My final question for you, Dr. Josiah, is what's the best way for our listeners to learn more and get in contact with you and take that next step for their business?
Absolutely. I would say go to our website, morelucro.com. We have tons of amazing resources. You mentioned the master classes. We call it the Lucro Vault. Right now we have an open source most of our content to anybody, and you can download handouts, you can download manuals, you can download calculators to calculate lifetime value, all different things that we have for free resources on our website that I utilize myself to grow my clinic to just under $7 million. So I would say, first and foremost, take advantage of what we offer for free. If you want to engage and get to the next level, schedule a strategy call with us. We have a demo on our website of our software, how it works. And so I would say take the next step, schedule a call with us, see how we can help scale your clinic to the next level when you're ready. But at the end of the day, we're here to help doctors be more successful, have a greater impact, and we'd love to help do that for any of the listeners.
Fantastic. Highly recommend that, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Josiah, and have yourself a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors.